Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club Podcast, where every week we pick a movie to watch and talk about. And this month we're going through the films of John Carpenter. And this week we are watching
Starman, a movie we've never seen before.
This is one of the few in the Carpenter canon that I've never seen, and surprisingly really good.
Yeah, I ended up liking it a lot more than I anticipated.
Same, because this is post The Thing, when Carpenter's kind of in studio exile.
Yeah.
Makes The Thing. It's his first attempt at a big studio. It flops. He has to do Christina Columbia to show he can still make money, but it kind of got panned by critics. And this is his follow-up to Christine. And I don't even know how to describe Starman. Is it a comedy? Is it a genre film? It's definitely not a John Carpenter feeling film. It's very different than Halloween, Escape from New York, The Thing, Assault on Precinct 13, even like Big Trouble from Little China, or They Live. This is a very different Carpenter film.
Yeah, there's a little bit of comedy, but it's just kind of to relieve the tension in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to describe it. It doesn't feel John Carpenter, but, I mean, this movie had me in my feels.
Oh, the ending of this movie. I ain't gonna lie. This is probably the closest this month I've come to getting misty-eyed over watching a Carpenter movie.
I was gonna say, didn't you cry recently watching a movie?
I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, you did.
Wait,
Wrath of Khan.
Oh, okay. Wrath of Khan doesn't count. I always cry at the end of Wrath of Khan. I swear. Wrath of Khan is one of the greatest films ever made. Star Trek, superior to Star Wars. It is wonderful.
Get out of here.
Wrath of Khan is Shakespearean. It's tales of revenge. It's tales of regrets. It's tales of growing old. It is a masterpiece, and it is Shatner's greatest performance as Kirk.
And you have a crush on Ricardo Montalban?
The man has abs to die for, but I do not have a crush on Ricardo Montalban. I can just, accept the fact he's a very handsome man. But besides the point. So, but yeah, this movie, it's a really, in the feels. It's a very humanistic film. It's a very, sentimental film.
Yeah.
Which is weird, because John Carpenter, usually he's the cynic, or he's a little bit, tongue-in-cheek, or he's anti-establishment. This feels like a Spielberg movie, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, when I was watching it, I kind of felt like this was the adult version of E.T.
That is a great way to put it. That is I wrote that down. This feels like...
Did you write it down? Because I read your notes. I didn't see that anywhere.
Okay, right here. This film has a blend of E.T., Superman, and It Happened One Night in its DNA. It doesn't feel like a traditional Carpenter film. It feels like a Spielberg film. Written in the notes. I got receipts.
He just jotted it down right now.
Oh, so many lies. But
yeah, that's how it felt to me. It felt like we're getting a less scary E.T.,
because E.T.'s a horror film for you.
I mean, look, E.T.'s sweet. It's, heartwarming to see the bond of this little boy and this alien. The boy is going through divorce and he's just kind of falling through the cracks, and, this alien saves him. But yeah, E.T.'s design has always scared the crap out of me. Mm-hmm. So to see an alien that just looks like a human.
Yeah, it looks like a Jeff Bridges.
Looks like young Jeff Bridges with abs. Not terrifying at all.
Is it weird to see a young Jeff Bridges?
Yeah, I'm used to older Jeff Bridges, so I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay.
You're a Big Lebowski and up Jeff Bridges person?
Yeah. I don't really go too far back. There is that black and white movie with Jeff Bridges.
The Last Picture Show.
There you go, that one.
I watched that on the other podcast that I do. I guess we haven't done it in a long time, but yeah, the Film Odyssey. He's great in The Last Picture Show.
Yeah.
And that is him really young. That movie came out in 70-something.
So it's a different take. It felt a lot like E.T., just, more on a romantic level. It takes them a while to develop romantic feelings because it's, basically her grieving the loss of her husband.
Yeah.
But we do have, the scary alien moment when there's just like this scary baby on the floor in her house, which I was just like,
That
what the
affected.
fuck are we watching?
That is John Carpenter being like, I can make this a little creepy, right?
I gotta squeeze a little something in there, and I'm like,
a little creepy,
and that's when I'm
right?
like, this is a John Carpenter movie, because, we have the weird baby that, transforms from, baby to toddler to child, teenager to man.
And the weird head effect thing that
Yeah.
that didn't age well, and that looks like a horror moment.
Yeah.
But besides the point. But it's interesting that we mentioned E.T. and we bring it up because you know the backstory of this film.
No, I don't.
Okay, so I guess we'll do the little context. So Starman in, I believe it's 1979, 1980, the script gets offered to Columbia, and they have to decide between two movies. It's Starman and this other movie called Night Sky. They're both about aliens coming down to Earth. Night Sky airs more to like a family film. Starman airs to more like a romance film.
Mm-hmm.
They say, we think Starman's going to make more money. We'll buy this script, and Night Skies will just let it ride.
Yeah.
So they go into a pre-production and start trying to figure out how they're going to make Starman work. Well, that happens. Night Skies goes to Universal. Steven Spielberg picks it up and turns that into E.T.
There you go.
And after E.T. comes out, I think they're still they're about to start working on Starman, but then E.T. comes out and they're like, no, we can't follow that up. It made more money than God.
Yeah.
If we do this, it's just going to be an E.T. ripoff. We need to redefine the entire film. So Starman goes away for a year. And in that time, Carpenter already makes Christine for Columbia. Christine makes money, it's $10 million budget, makes 25 at the box office.
It's a Stephen King story. Stephen King movies usually do very well.
Exactly. And Carpenter shepherded the project.
Yeah.
Again, you say a lot what you want about Carpenter. He's a consummate professional. Movies come in under budget on time. Always. So they think, okay, we offered Starman to a bunch of directors. None of them really were hot on the idea. For one reason or another, Carpenter looks at it and he says, this gives me an opportunity to stop doing genre films, for one reason. He can finally do something that's a little bit more of a drama, a little bit more of a comedy, something that's not Halloween, The Thing, Escape from New York, something out of his genre wheelhouse.
The Fog.
So he picks it up, and they give him $20 million to make the movie. Which, this feel like a $20 million budget movie? I mean, granted, the effects are done by ILM in 84, so that's probably bumped the budget up a little bit, but...
Yeah, I mean, we've got, what is it, the Orange Charger, we have the Hot Rod, we have explosions, we travel to different locations, so it feels like...
A bigger movie.
A bigger movie, a bigger budget, which was kind of nice to see, the movie expand, and they're traveling, and they're on the go.
Yeah, that's a thing that really drew Carpenter to the movie, was it was gonna be a road movie. Because I think he was attached to do Firestarter, Stephen King's Firestarter, after The Thing, but The Thing tragically bombed, and they took him off Firestarter and gave it to somebody else, and then he ended up doing Christine, but he wanted to do that road movie.
Yeah.
Because if you ever read Firestarter, it's about a dad and the daughter kind of traveling around, running from the government. It's a road movie.
Yeah.
So he takes this. It's the road movie he wanted to make. It's a romance film. And he does it, and it gets... Actually, it's probably his most critically successful film he makes in his entire career.
Yeah, because it has a little bit of everything in it. It's not just a horror movie, an action movie. It just has so many working parts, and it all works together.
And it gets Jeff Bridges nominated for his second Oscar, I believe. I think he's nominated for Last Picture Show, and this is his second Oscar nomination.
Okay. Granted,
he loses to Salieri, F. Murray Abraham. Ooh. Yeah, this is the year that Amadeus dropped.
Yeah. I mean, Amadeus is such a powerhouse. I love that movie.
I watched it for the first time 2 months ago on your recommendation, because we found it at some bargain bin or somewhere.
I've been telling you for years, you gotta watch Amadeus.
I can't find it. I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't on...
I would have let you borrow my copy.
I didn't know you had a copy. Now I know.
Well, of course. How else am I gonna watch it?
Sidetrack for Amadeus. F. Murray Abraham. Oh yeah, that's the deserving performance, right?
Definitely. I mean, I'm super jelly still. Our friend Thomas got to go see it at the Hollywood Bowl with a live orchestra.
Oh, I saw that he posted on Instagram, and I'm like, bruh, thanks for the invite, but ooh.
Well, yeah, his girlfriend, that was one of his gifts for his birthday. And I was just like, that was something that I had wanted to go do. And I don't know why we didn't end up getting tickets for it, but...
It's a 3-hour movie in a stadium.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, it's a beautiful movie, but, he made me laugh because his last, one of his stories, he was just like, I cried the entire time. And I'm like, oh yeah, hearing Mozart's music and seeing, the orchestra, I would be in tears too.
Well, see, Amadeus didn't hit me, like, emotionally like that, but... My God, the ending sequence where Salieri and Amadeus and they're composing together.
They're finally working
together, and the music builds as he's explaining and Salieri's writing, and I'm like, this is like poetically beautiful.
Yeah.
Like, I think the movie is like a beautiful film.
Yeah.
But so you can see why Starman might not have lit up the Oscar season.
Yeah, I mean,
It's surprising that this is the only film in John Carpenter's entire career that gets nominated for any Oscar. Like, I mean, The Thing doesn't get nominated for special effects.
I feel Halloween should have won all the Oscars.
You say that, but wait, Halloween came out in what, 78? Oh God, fuck. There was other great movies that came out in 78. There's gotta be, right?
Yeah, I think we did something. It must have been recently or the past couple of months where we looked. And it was just a stacked year.
Oh, it was something
amazing
ridiculous.
Movies, and it's just like...
Wait, didn't Star Wars come out in 78?
77, I believe.
Oh, damn it, yeah. Yeah, that's the year Annie Hall won. Yeah, Annie Hall beat Star Wars at the Oscars, everybody. Let that sink in.
Well, it's also that the Oscars, they don't really focus on sci-fi and horror too much.
It's very rare they get, like, genre films get any Oscar consideration.
That's why it's, it was such a big deal, like, when, what was it, Parasite won.
Parasite won Best Picture last year or the year before.
The one with Guillermo del Toro.
Shape of Water.
Shape of Water, there you go.
Shape of Water, everyone's like, oh, this horror movie. I'm like, it's really just like a weird romance film, or weird sci-fi romance film, but... Okay, yeah, the fish person is pretty fucking creepy.
I mean, he's cool when you go visit him at the Academy Museum.
Yeah, well, that is really cool. But the other thing is that's the same year that Get Out's nominated for Best Picture and wins Best Screenplay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I feel Get Out was probably the better movie out of Shape of Water and the two.
I think the Academy just needs to, like, really evaluate their criteria, because it's, we have horror movies and sci-fi... And it's just like, these movies, people love them, and they continue, and they, progress, and it's just like...
Well, you gotta remember, it's a political thing a lot of the time, and the other part is, sometimes the Oscars are like, well, this is the best movie of the year, and it didn't make a lot of money.
Yeah.
And usually the movies where it's like, well, this movie made a shit ton of money.
Mm-hmm.
Why should we give it Oscars?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
But I mean, I think this movie probably deserved a couple more nods apart from just Best Actor.
I think Karen Allen is so good in it. It is probably her best performance.
Definitely. Karen Allen deserved to be nominated. The screenplay deserved to be nominated because the story was just so good.
It's a really compelling script, and the dialogue works so well. Granted, it's coming out of two, like, A-list actors here, like S-tier actors. And... it honestly, like, how the direction works and how the effects are integrated. I mean, don't get me wrong, not all the effects aged perfectly, but there's a few in here that I'm like, I'm impressed by. The spaceship at the end.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and it's that snowing scene. I'm like, this seems like a movie that probably should have gotten at least a special effects nod, or, like, one or two more.
Yeah.
But I guess let's finally get into the movie itself,
Yeah,
right?
why don't you tell everybody what the plot of the movie is?
I guess the gist of the film isn't super complicated. An alien that takes the form of a Wisconsin widow's husband.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of W's in there. And he makes her drive him across the country to get to Arizona so he can be picked up by his people.
Yeah.
And on the way, the two develop this understanding of each other. He begins to learn more about humanity, and she begins to kind of overcome this grief of the loss of her husband, and they fall in love.
And this takes course over the span of 3 days.
Yes, it takes course. It's a very quick window they're playing with. And as they're traveling across the country, they're also being followed by a very, we'll say, distrustful government that is also being head by a very sympathetic scientist.
Yeah.
That is kind of hoping to capture Starman and just learn something about the universe. And it's a very interesting dichotomy, the A and B plot, you know, this scientist fighting the government and saying, look, you can't capture and dissect him. He's here because he caught the Voyager probe. That's basically our greeting card to science.
Exactly, and I think that was one of the biggest things that pissed me off in the movie was just... And I think that's,
intentional.
It's intentional. It's, trying to get you to, kind of feel for this, person that's not really human. He just looks human, but he has emotions and feelings, and it's, yeah, let's send out greetings so if there is a life form out there other than ours, we can connect and we could, kind of learn. And it's like...
First thing they do when they see the spaceship, they shoot the fucker down.
I was just like, really? Like, you want to connect and then, oh, we gotta cut him up and kill him. It's just like, why? It's like, what is the point of that?
I feel that's a little bit of that, like, Carpenter cynicism in here. Because I don't think he had a whole big hand in the scripting process, but that feels something that's a little Carpenter cynicism.
But, I mean, it's also the same thing in E.T., where you have, the scary men with the keychains, and they're after E.T., and
the
it's
scary
just,
man with the walkie-talkie.
With the walkie-talkies, too, and it's just like, he's, not a bad creature, but, yeah, if they got their hands on him, they're gonna cut him open, and it's just like, what's that gonna serve? It's gonna be...
It's an alien.
It's gonna be, classified information that no one else, ever hears about, but it's just the secrets, oh, hey, did you hear about that one time we caught this, alien, blah, blah, blah.
It's so in 20 years they can do the movie about the old FBI agent. He's like, son, we caught an alien. It's an Area 51, and his people are coming back, and we need you to save the world. Like, they're waiting, that's for that movie.
When did everyone storm Area 51? Was that before the pandemic or during?
I'm pretty sure that was before the pandemic. I don't think anybody actually stormed Area 51.
I remember the Facebook groups are going around like...
Oh, they were acting so serious about it. I thought people were going to show up, but I don't know if they ever did.
I think they did. I think they were like on the outside gates, and it's like, no, that's
a real military base.
It's a base. It's government property. They are not gonna let you in.
And that was the joke. They were gonna Naruto run at it to get maximum speed and the serpentine. So their philosophy was like, they can't shoot us all. And I'm like, bro, it's a military base. They will just shoot you.
Yeah.
I saw something, and I think it was one of those, like, it was a Karen or whatever that drove onto a military base on accident.
Oh, God.
And the office, and, like, the military police officer was telling her she needs to leave.
Yeah.
She's, like, on a military tarmac or something. Like, she just drove on a park, and she's playing on her phone.
Oh, God.
And he's like, ma'am, you gotta leave. And she starts, like, yelling at him, and then he's like, ma'am, if you don't leave, I will be required to use lethal force to remove you from the property. And she keeps yelling, and he chambers around. I'm like, oh, is this gonna be one of those videos? Oh shit! It was not. He just like detained her and got her off the fucking property.
I mean, that Karen kind of sounds like the cop that goes to the motel to basically surveil them,
and he just jimmies open the fucking car.
Well, not only that, but his I don't know if maybe it's like his captain or his chief is like, okay, don't go near them, just watch them, and he's like, well. What if they approach us? What if they want to talk to us? Or, what if he's like, only use lethal force if you have to. And he hangs up the call and he's just, I think we gotta use some lethal force. It's like, they're not even doing anything to you. They're not even near you.
They're in the hotel, like, where you got the thing where it's like, is this where the weird sex scene is with the alien? Because it's gonna happen in the movie, goddammit. You know it's coming up.
I mean, I wasn't anticipating it. I thought it was just gonna be kind of a thing for, her name's Jane, right?
Yeah. Karen Allen is playing, I believe, is it Jane or Jenny? Jenny. She's playing Jenny Hayden.
Jenny Hayden, yeah. That's why I'm like, okay, it's gonna be a thing for Jenny Hayden, that it's kind of her coming to terms with losing her husband and, finally bridging that next step in grief.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, that's gonna be nice to kind of see her, maybe get her goodbye, because we get that he dies in an accident, her husband. We don't get any more on, what really happened in that accident, if it was a car accident, a work accident. And then we kind of learned that they had only been married for like a year
and some change.
So it's not
they
even...
tried to have a kid and they couldn't.
Yeah, so it was just kind of like, okay, she only had so much time with him before he was taken away. So I'm like, okay, we're gonna get closure for Jenny at least. Maybe she can move on. Because we meet her and she's just watching old home videos.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, that's rough. He's there 1 minute and he's gone the next, and then you have Starman show up who basically assumes his form, and it's just like, holy crap, my husband's kind of back.
Yeah, and I think that's a really beautiful way to put it, because the movie, it's about closure, right? And
for both of them.
Yeah. I mean, for Jenny, it's, husband's gone, and the whole movie is, I think she is the one who's going through the arc. She's going from this place of incredible sadness, and through Starman, it kind of sees the beauty in humanity, his wonder in humanity, and she, falls in love with that hope, that hope in humanity, and she kind of comes back around. And I really do like this movie.
Yeah, so do I.
It is so sappy, though.
I mean, I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, because it's like, we could have done another horror movie.
Yeah.
Something, an action movie. But yeah, I ended up really liking this. I, really was touched by the story, where it's just, they fall in love, and it's put there, this isn't going to last because he can't survive here and she can't survive where he lives.
And I think that's the beauty of it. She's able to see her, husband again.
Yeah.
And it's the difference between he's gone all of a sudden, and now she's able to have some time to come to terms with it. She knows he's going to be gone in 3 days.
Yeah.
So now she's able to process that.
I mean, despite, some of the earlier time, she's trying to, put out there that she's been kidnapped.
Yes.
And, after that, after seeing that he's really more gentle and more vulnerable, it's just kind of like, you know what, I think I need to stop fighting this because he's not trying to hurt me.
And that's another thing. I love how Jenny operates in the movie. Mm-hmm. Because at first she is very much like, this guy's kidnapping me, I'm just going to try and leave. I know he's an alien. I'm like, that's a very smart, logical, totally okay decision.
Yeah.
And then when she's has the out and she's gonna leave, then she sees fucking Starman revive a deer from the dead. Yeah,
that got me. I was just like, oh my god, he brought this deer to life and he freed it. It's not like he ate it or did anything, destroyed it. No, I was just like, that was a very E.T. moment, like when he brings the flowers back to life.
Oh yeah. Oh, I want to bring that up because that's the diner scene.
Yeah.
And that, oh my god, it's one of the best scenes in the movie. Mm-hmm. And it's probably the best scene Karen Allen has in the film. It's the first one. They come up to this diner after they've been driving for a day or two.
Yeah, and she explains to him in the car, because he's like, I have this great emptiness in me, and she's like, that's hunger, you're hungry. And it's, her basically teaching him how to be human, because she's got to teach him how to talk. Mm-hmm. And, it's just, you're in a human body, so we gotta eat. And they're kind of go on a date.
Yeah, and it starts as this funny thing. It's like, oh, the alien doesn't know how food works, and now she has to teach him. Mm-hmm. And then it gets to a really, kind of a deep and hard conversation where they're talking about her husband, and he asks, and she's like, well, I loved him, and he's like, define love.
Yeah.
And she describes it in a way that's not like a screenwriter would write, like prose. It's very human. It's very natural. And
it's real.
It's real, and she can't even like finish it because she breaks down at the table because she has to, like, when somebody you love dies, and that feeling. And I'm like, oh my god, this is the Oscar clip, boys.
Yeah, this
is amazing. And well, that's going on, and then she excuses herself when the apple pie gets there. And when she goes off, and then Starman goes out to and revives this deer from the dead that some hunters had, and it's like, okay, this guy is not evil or harmful. He's curious, but he has this underlying sense of
life.
Yeah.
And that's what I like when we get later, well, at the end of the movie, with Mark, who works for the government. Mm-hmm. Where he's just talking to Starman for a few minutes, and he's like, basically, you guys are archaeologists. You're just here to kind of, learn and discover our, species, our race. And you're not here to, like, tamper with anything. You're just here to observe what we do and how we live.
And I love that scene, because that's at the end of the film. That's like right before the big climax. Yeah. And Starman asks him, he's like, or do you want to know what I find most beautiful about your species? And
he says, you want to know what I find most beautiful about you? And Mark is kind of like, oh, you think I'm beautiful? But it's just like...
he means humanity.
Yeah, he means humanity. But it's just, that's a nice way to phrase that question versus, oh, you know what I find fascinating or interesting about, humans. It's just,
what is beautiful. You are at your best when things are at their worst. Mm-hmm. That tried and true logic of humanity. When things are bad, we will persevere, we will move on, because you can hit people, you can smash them, you can crush people, but the human spirit just keeps on keeping on, and it's the beautiful thing of humanity. Yeah.
And that's he learns the word beautiful when he's talking about where he lives, and she asks, and he's like, it's very beautiful, but Earth is beautiful just as well. Mm-hmm. And it's like, if we were to go up into space, that's a whole new beauty that we've never experienced with our own eyes before, but to see it from him who's never been here, seeing trees, seeing the desert, it's cool to see it from his aspect.
Oh yeah, and I really do think this movie is very, very strong for what it is. I'm just wondering how best to broach the rest of the film, because it's at its heart, it's a romance film, it's a sci-fi film, it's a little bit of genre, a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
a little bit of comedy,
and I'm wondering why this is the Carpenter movie that's kind of been forgotten. At the time, it was probably, like, contemporaneously his most successful movie. Mm-hmm. It cost $20 million to make. I think he makes 25, so not a huge box office smash, but makes its money back in a little. But it's nominated for an Oscar, and all the critics love it. So that's pretty good, and it plays on TV forever. Mm-hmm. But why is it that audiences now haven't reclaimed this like they've reclaimed, all his other films of the 1980s?
Well, I mean, when you think of John Carpenter, you think of, his horror, his sci-fi movies. Maybe a lot of people just haven't heard that he did, like,
basically a Spielberg movie?
A dramedy. Where it's just... I mean, it's coming from a time in the 80s where there was a lot of romantic movies, drama movies, where it probably just fell through the cracks, with bigger romance stories that happened.
Yeah, and also this is coming off of E.T. 2 years later. Mm-hmm. I think E.T. is still playing in theaters at this point. And it's one of those things where there was a lot of the E.T. or the Amblin entertainment, like zeitgeist that was going on. All those family films in the 1980s. And this one curves a little bit higher than a family movie. Like, I don't know if I could show this to, like, I can take a little kid to this, and they would be interested, because it really is a kind of an adult film. Like, there's a lot of heavy stuff going on here, and you're not really getting a lot of action until pretty much the end of the movie. But it's also this very interesting sci-fi story, and it's very hammered in that it's, the genre sci-fi oeuvre. I wonder if this is just too out there for the adults who are in for a romance movie and too schmaltzy for the genre people who are in for a sci-fi movie.
No, I don't feel like it's too heavy either way. I think it's really good distributed the way that it is. It's just, I think, it's not a kid's movie because we don't see him, jumping back and forth, into his alien form. We're just seeing him in his physical form on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, I think, more geared towards adults who can, understand the complexity of, loss and curiosity. And we get a lot of curiosity from him because he's just trying to learn to human. Like when he's watching TV in the hotel room,
mm-hmm.
or the motel room. And it's just, he's seeing, old Western movies, and then he sees that one movie, can never remember the name of the movie, where they're kissing on the beach.
Oh, I have no idea what the movie is.
It's used in so many movies and shows. But, he's like, kissing, and he's trying to kiss her, and she keeps, like, rolling over in the bed. And he's just, like, trying to get, a kiss and move his hat out of his way.
He's like, how does this work?
Yeah, and, she's just asleep and, not paying attention. And then that's when we get, dude, the cops are trying to break into your car.
Oh.
And then they, fling the vending machine down the stairs, which...
It's a good way to get a distraction.
Good distraction. Got him out of there.
Also, I want to talk about Jeff Bridges' performance as an alien, because, he's walking a fine line here.
He's the dude.
He is the dude. And Jeff Bridges is another one of those actors, I think same as Kurt Russell. He comes from, like, an acting background, like a family background. Mm-hmm. And he's really another one of those actors that's not super pretentious about the craft, and he's very... show up, I'll be well researched, I'll be mm-hmm. well prepared for my work, but it's work, he understands, show up, don't be difficult, be cool to everybody, and get the job done.
Yeah.
It's not like Daniel Day-Lewis, who refused to walk for a whole production because his character was in a wheelchair.
I mean, that man is just dedicated to his characters.
Yes, and also being difficult sometimes, but...
I mean, didn't he almost die of pneumonia during Lincoln?
He almost died of pneumonia during Gangs in New York.
Mm.
Yeah, he might have almost died of pneumonia during Lincoln. That sounds like a very Daniel Day-Lewis thing to do.
I mean, that's great, because it gives off a, Oscar-worthy performance, but it's like, yeah, I think,
Can you just bring the intensity down just a hair? Just a hair.
Yeah, where you're almost ready to be put in the hospital. That's a little bit much.
Exactly. Jeff Bridges, though, totally cool. Awesome guy.
Yeah, and I think he totally pulls off this performance.
Yeah, well, the reason I say fine line is because I feel if he goes too far into playing, like, comedy, talking like a weird robot person, like, he's either gonna make it too cartoonish.
No, I think, with this, it could have been a fine line of scary alien, or, like, My Favorite Martian kind of alien, where it's, very sitcom-y.
Where it's goofy or it's scary.
Yeah, so it's like, I think he has a good mix where, he's learned to talk because of the program that was sent up, into space, and he's learned, all these greetings. So, yeah, for a while his voice is very kind of choppy because it's just recordings that he's kind of, trained himself. But it's funny to see him learn, new words, and him, wanting to know what this word means and why, it has importance. Mm. But, yeah, I mean, when he learns the up yours.
Oh, favorite part of the movie.
One of the favorite parts. I was just
there's a lot of great little gags in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, even when he gets into the fist fight with the guys over the deer, he takes, a good punch, and then he's like, oh, okay, that's what that does, and, cocks his arm and knocks the guy, practically across the parking lot.
I'm just saying, in that scene, we see Starman versus Jason Voorhees. Starman wins.
He does.
Yeah, the main actor, that's Ted White. He's old school stuntman. He was Jason in Friday the 13th Part 4.
Okay.
And he had been in Hollywood so long, he was Clark Gable's stunt double.
No way.
No, yeah, no, he's been in the game a long
Wow.
time. I think he's still alive. To be honest, I think he's still around.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, he'd probably be in his 90s by now, but I'm pretty sure he's still around. I think I saw that somewhere. But yeah, he's been in the game so long, he was a stunt double for Clark Gable.
Wow.
Yeah. Which, fascinating. But as it goes, yeah, so Jeff Bridges, I think, does do a really good job. Happy he got the Oscar nom. Surprised Karen Allen didn't.
Yeah, she definitely deserved a nomination for this because her character is just as complex as his.
I think it's even more, and she's given the harder task because she has to play off of Jeff Bridges' Starman, who is, for the most part, a blank for the first half of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
She has to almost bounce off of nothing.
Yeah.
And has to carry so much emotional weight. Whereas, Jeff Bridges gets a little bit more of a showy performance because he gets to be the alien and gets to be kind of weird and quirky.
And he gets to be, like you said, a blank slate. Everything is brand new to him, and it's her basically being afraid to, no, let me teach you because I don't want, someone else to take advantage of you. This is what this means, that, and so forth.
It's a really good performance on both sides.
I mean, I think...
And testament to John Carpenter.
No, definitely. And I think, what really got me was when they had that talk about why they didn't have babies, her and her husband. And she was just, that was me. I can't have it. And, he was like, well, I gave you one. And basically, gives her the bio of what this child's going to be. And he's like, it is your husband's child, but it's also mine too. And it's just like...
I love that because he also gives her the option.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, because they, obviously, alien romance movie, they bang in the back of a train car, which, there you go.
Yeah, they do.
And he's like, I gave you a baby.
Mm-hmm.
If you do not want the baby, I can stop it. It's up to you. And it's like, that's a really, because, in any other movie, right before he goes off into the spaceship, he would have just reached over and be like, but you'll always remember me, because you'll always have a piece of me with you. And he'll, touch her belly, and then it'll be like, oh, yeah, gave her the preggers. I see.
Yeah.
But no, he does it, because they bang, and then, right after, literally the next scene, he's like, I gave you a baby.
I know, I was just sitting there, and I was just bruh, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, the thing is, she's like, oh, absolutely, thank you so much, because she wanted a kid, and he gave it to her, and it's like, thank you for not being problematic, 80s movie.
I know, that's what I was anticipating. I was like, oh god, he knocked her up, and it's just gonna be like, well,
he's gonna leave her ass in the desert.
It's like, well, deuces, I gotta get back on my, spaceship and go. And then I was just like, where are we going from here? And then when he explains and he goes, don't worry, he will be human, and he's gonna grow up to be a teacher, and, will you please tell me, or will you tell him about me when he grows up? And it's just
I love that bit where she's like, which star's yours, so she can tell her son where his dad's from. Mm-hmm. I'm like, oh, that's... Oh, there's a lot of oh in this movie.
I know. I was like, that scene was just like, why can't they make it work? But I was just like, also, thank you, John Carpenter and the screenwriters for giving us closure, because we know that they're not going to end up together, and we know we're probably not going to see, this baby in this movie, because there was only so much more time left.
Yeah.
As the movie, was hitting that, the climax.
Whoa.
And it's just like, it's like, okay, cool, we get to hear who this child is basically going to grow up to be.
Well, if you wanted to see the baby, you could have always watched the Starman television show.
There was a television show.
Comes out in 1987, I believe. It stars the main actor from Airplane, not Leslie Nielsen,
the other guy.
The other guy that flies the plane.
Yeah.
I forget his name, and I do apologize because I looked it up. But it ran for one season on ABC back in the 80s, and not a great TV show, but it's about Starman coming back down from space to meet up with his son, because Jenny has been kidnapped by the government
again,
and they have to go on a cross-country journey to save the mother. And Jeff Bridges doesn't return. It's again
a new Starman.
New Starman. Karen Allen's not in the show. The kid is like, they age it up, so it takes place 15 years later. So the kid's 15. Yeah, it's not a great show.
Why do studios do this? Where it's like, you have a masterpiece. This would be like coming back, and then, okay, we're gonna have the E.T. show where Elliot's been kidnapped and E.T.'s gotta come back and find him and save him.
Hold up. Wasn't there an E.T. cartoon?
I don't know.
I feel that exists.
I know there was a Ghostbusters cartoon.
There was like 4 Ghostbusters cartoons.
Yeah, I don't know if there was an E.T. one. I know there was an Atari game.
God, that game... Ooh, that game was mythical for decades. And then they found the pit, and then they were like, this game's shit.
We watched that documentary where they went hunting through years and years of garbage, and they actually found the pit where all the games were.
They trashed up 1 million+ copies of E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, God. But
it's just like, leave movies alone. It's like, if like...
Just to let the movie stand.
Yeah, like, let the movie stand on its own. We don't need continued with nobody from the original cast, or it's just like, no.
Says the girl who wants sequels to every movie. You wanted a sequel to The Thing. You were very angry at the ending of The Thing where it didn't open for sequels.
No, I just wanted, the guy with the light coming out of his face. I wanted that. And then, we don't know, are they infected? Do they die?
Hey, that's the best part of The Thing. Best part of The Thing.
Ugh, but I liked in this movie, we're given closure. They get to say goodbye to each other. You know that she's going to go on to have a child, so she's not going to be alone.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I liked this movie, and no, it didn't need a show.
Well, I noticed you mentioned the writer a minute ago. There were 2 main writers on this.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Evans and Reynold Gideon. And Bruce Evans, I think he's the original writer for it, and he did a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least the original concept. He goes on to do Stand By Me like 2 years later, to write Stand By Me. So I'm like, okay.
Another great movie.
Chops are here.
Yeah.
We're good. But there's a whole kerfluffle about those screenwriting credits for this. Because I guess when John Carpenter got on, another writer, Dean Reisner, he did a full rewrite of the script and basically kept the basic plot elements, but he was uncredited for political reasons.
Oh, okay.
But John Carpenter was like, yeah, I shot his script. I had never met the other 2 fucking guys. So, who knows?
Okay.
But interesting writing tidbit about this.
Yeah.
And one more little tidbit about the movie is this is John Carpenter and not Dean Cundey.
Yeah, that's true. Who is the DOP in this movie?
The cinematographer for this is Donald M. Morgan. He's also the DOP for Christine.
Oh.
So when The Thing had its tragedy, John Carpenter and Dean Cundey had a falling out, and Carpenter goes over to Columbia. Dean Cundey manages to stay in Universal, and he goes on to,
Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, becomes the special effects cinematographer of the 80s and 90s, and then makes Jack and Jill, and, life happens.
You and Jack and Jill.
It astounds me. The man who shot The Thing also shot Jack and Jill. Also the Garfield movie. Just want to throw that out there. So we have, Donald M. Morgan, who's the cinematographer here, and I feel that he has a pretty strong presence through this film, because this doesn't even look that much like a John Carpenter film. I feel that Morgan here has a lot of sway in terms of the movie's look, a lot more than Carpenter probably had influence on the previous films.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head where it doesn't look like a Carpenter movie, but to go with the story, I think it looks the way that it needed to look.
Mm-hmm.
It needed to kind of look, empty, because that's how Jenny's feeling, just these kind of empty spaces. But, I mean, also just being able to transition from the emptiness of the country to the bright lights of Vegas and the little teepee park near the crater at the end. It's like, I like the choices that they made to kind of tie the movie in together.
Yeah, and also the effects shots that are going on in the movie. Because all these effect shots that are happening, they are definitely something that requires a steady cinematographer, a steady hand, somebody who knows the lighting, knows the craft, knows how to integrate that stuff really well.
I mean, let alone when Jenny's shot by the cops.
Shocking.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that. But the fact that she dies, and basically he finds a way to, with his technology, he's able to revive her, But the fact that he's able to find this house that's being transported on the back of this, truck, and he's just like, okay, I'm going to put her in here where she can lay down and no one's going to bother her, no one's going to touch her. So it's going from, these fast shots with the cars to this explosion to now they're in the house. Even the lighting, the red lights that are just coming in through the windows of the house.
That's something I really like about the cinematography of the film, is we have these big, broad, open landscapes that are all naturally lit, and they're, big cinematic, Howard Hawksian, John Fordian vistas.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have moments in the film, like when they're in the house, where it's this, okay, now it's this very sci-fi-esque lighting. And to symbolize, Jeff Bridges as this alien, there's a lot of, like, blue light going on, and then there's this red light going on, and then, like, the end of the film, when the spaceship comes down, you have that red light in the snow, and it's like, oh my god, this is, like, beautiful.
The Stranger Things.
Yeah, the Stranger Thing vibe.
I was like, we're getting Stranger Things. Let alone after he drives through the gas tanker, and there's the explosion. He has a Superman moment when he's just... Superman Herculean moment where he's just carrying her through the fire. And it's just like, wow, okay, this movie has so much in it. But it doesn't suck. It works. It all works together.
Yeah, I don't think there's a part of the movie that I objectively find bad. Is there anything in the movie that you think it maybe comes up short or doesn't work all that well? I mean, there's a few dated effects, I ain't gonna lie.
Yeah, but I think the only thing bad, and it's not bad on anyone's part, it's just, the way it's written, is the government workers that are just, out to get them, and it's just...
There's a lot of just faceless bad guy.
Yeah, and I think that's the only bad, but that's, supposed to be bad. They're supposed to be these kind of soulless characters, and then we have this, alien here who we would assume would be the soulless one because he's not human, and he ends up having a ton of heart. Yeah,
and the only person who does have a soul or even any sense of character is the one scientist, and it's a scientist, not a person of the government or military.
Yeah, he's a contractor.
Yeah, he's somebody independent of them that's inside the government that has the soul. The government has no soul.
Yeah.
Again, another Carpenter-ism of cinema. The government, no soul. It's fun.
Let alone when the spaceship starts to descend. But it's just, everybody comes to a stop. All the soldiers, the helicopters, they land, and it's just, yeah, we're gonna fire, we're gonna, shoot to kill, and it's just like, that human curiosity kicks in, and it's like, I gotta stop what I'm doing. I've got sand whipping me in the eyes, but it's like, I gotta see this because this is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, It's like, screw orders.
It's a fucking spaceship!
A spaceship that looks like Saturn.
Yes, a very shiny Saturn.
Yeah, because at first I'm like, is this supposed to be like...
A planet?
Well, no, because it's reflective, so I'm like, is this supposed to be kind of like a water drop? And then once it really gets close, it's Saturn. So I'm like, okay. That's an interesting concept. We've seen spaceships in other movies. But I'm like, to use a planet? Pretty cool compared to all the spaceships we've seen in movies and TV shows.
Oh, yeah. I was a little sad we didn't get, like, a 1950s flying saucer going on. I feel like that would be the Carpenter, like, thing, right? He would
that
throw
was what
back
they
to a
said,
50
too.
movie.
They were like, oh, yeah, people were reporting they saw a flying saucer, so I assumed, okay, this is going to be that kind of movie where we get a flying saucer. And it's like, okay, after seeing it be, Saturn, I'm like, okay, so I could see someone mistaking the rings of it being a flying saucer at night.
Yeah, I do like how all the technology and everything that, Starman the alien uses is so, like, foreign and ethereal.
Yeah.
It's because he's like a non-corporeal being. He's just this floating light thing at the beginning of the movie. And I think that's a really interesting way to portray an alien in a film. It's not this puppet like in E.T., and it's not just a guy like in, Star Trek.
Yeah, I'm
like
wondering...
all other 50s alien movies.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Third Rock from the Sun, they maybe took from this movie, because I know when they describe themselves, on their home planet, they're like purple tubes.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like, okay, again, we're not getting puppets, it's just...
People.
Well, we're getting people, but it's, in essence, when they're on their home planet, they're just like matter.
Mm.
They're not a physical form, it's just...
They're a thing.
They're a thing, yeah, and not like the thing, but they're a thing.
That would have been the sickest like post credits tie in where Starman goes up and then it crashes and he crashes into Antarctica.
And then, it's just whatever noise the thing makes.
Oh. But yeah, so Starman. Final thoughts.
I thought it was terrific, like Dutch apple pie.
Beautiful statement right there. I do really enjoyed the movie. This was one of the most surprising watches of the year. I ain't even gonna lie.
I don't know if it was just me. Maybe it's the way that it was shot. It looked more like a 70s movie than it did an 80s movie.
Oh, yeah.
It was very soft and...
It was very locked down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I don't mind.
Oh, no, I think it works well to the point of the film. And the other thing is John Carpenter is a classicist. He likes, Howard Hawks movies. He's not a very flashy director. He, locks the camera down, composes the frame, and then shoots the movie. Yeah. He's not trying to do a 15-minute long take that swoops through the Copacabana and takes you into the club to seduce you into this life of crime. But, Goodfellas is great, too.
It is. But, in this movie, we have a lot of, big open spaces. We have, the train going by. We have the two of them sitting in the back of the pickup truck.
That train was a miniature, by the way. Was
it?
Yeah.
The where it's just going across the landscape?
Yeah, that was a miniature. That blew my fucking mind. I saw the picture and I'm like, no, that was a real, right? Because they have a close-up where it goes through the frame or whatever, and that's a real train, right? It's not. It's a fucking miniature. The thing's like 6 inches tall.
That's filmmaking.
Blew my mind.
It's magic.
But yeah, and Starman, magical film. Really do recommend this.
2 thumbs up.
Two enthusiastic thumbs up. It's just hard to find now.
Yeah, I had a really hard time finding it. I guess it's on TV. My mom said that she was flipping through the channels, I think, earlier this week, and she was like, oh, it was playing on TV. But to stream it...
Oh, it just doesn't exist on streaming.
You either have to pay for it. I guess it was a part of Tubi recently, but they took it off.
Yeah, the TV show's still on Tubi.
Oh god, I'm not watching that. But yeah, I had to go through like a third party to find it. It's probably going to be, a Herculean task to find the DVD of this.
Yeah.
Because, this would be one that I'd like to add to the collection.
It also has, like, the worst Blu-ray cover. Because it's just Jeff Bridges' face with this red streak over his face. And it's like, is he supposed to be a cyborg? Or what's going... It's a really weird cover. It looks like it's advertising, like, a sci-fi action film.
What does it look like? Like, not Predator,
I think it kind of looks like a knockoff 12 Monkeys poster, but that's just me.
You love that movie. You will bring up that movie anytime
12
you can.
Monkeys is a great film. But, well, you know what else is a great film? The film we're watching next week.
Yeah, because next week ends John Carpenter month at the film club.
It does. And the only way to end this, because our goal for the John Carpenter month was to go through some of the major films of John Carpenter's career. We did his first real film in Assault on Precinct 13. We did his first film with money with Escape from New York. We did his first auteurist film with The Thing. We did his most critically accepted film in Starman. And now we're going to do his return to independent cinema.
And another iconic film of John Carpenter. Because, a lot of his movies are so iconic on their own, and it's not like you could, say John Carpenter and everyone's going to have the same answer. It's always something that makes them think of, of him. And this movie, also kind of started an artistic frenzy,
yes.
Maybe like a decade ago or not too long ago. But we're going to be watching They Live.
Yes, we're watching They Live starring Rowdy Roddy Piper. This movie is iconic of iconics. It's probably up there with Halloween in terms of Carpenter's most iconic films or most well-known films. It stars Rowdy Roddy Piper.
So we're definitely going to talk about WWE next week.
Oh, absolutely. And the other interesting part is it's the end of the Carpenter run.
Yeah.
Because after They Live, he gets cursed by Chevy Chase, and then we get the 90s mediocre John Carpenter films. It's true sadness, but we get to watch They Live next week, and I'm very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I've only seen this one time.
Really?
And I think I watched it last year for the first time. So it's going to be still a very fresh movie for me. I mean, of course, you see, all
the Obey posters.
The artistry.
The thing where you have the glasses on.
Yeah, I've been looking for those. I don't know if it's a t-shirt company that I follow or somebody where they sell the sunglasses with "They Live" across the eyes. So I'm just like I kind of want a pair of those.
Oh, but I can't wait.
Me too. But if you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Anchor FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and eventually this episode will drop on YouTube.
Yes, it will. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube. Like, comment, subscribe, and we release videos every week, and when we get antsy, we'll release 2. But where else can they go to follow our stories?
Well, if you want to follow our adventures, you can find us on Instagram at the Film Club Podcast, where we post daily stories, stuff from the haunt season, just any adventure that we go on, movie trivia. And yeah, with that,
we'll see you all next week at the Film Club.